So how did you get into getting the building?
On what, this building?
Yeah. So was it you by yourself, or was it you and Ken back then?
No, in 1979, the original store, which was 7653 Tuesday, was the little gas station down the street, right across the street from Wimpy's, which was a famous Italian steak place. And we got burned down in 1979. And that was on a Tuesday morning, like 2 o'clock in the morning, it burned. And after contacting my insurance man Wednesday, I found out I had business interruption insurance and I could get an advance on getting the business back up, because the quicker you get the business back up, it reduced the business interruption. Luckily, the building upstairs was available. I went to Bruce Barrett, who owned the building. He had the nursery on the corner, and I said, hey, told him the circumstances, and he said, go ahead and take the building. So we had a building crew come in on Friday and slap pegboard up all over and build some podiums, and took inventory from the other stores, and my record label put all of the new record albums in. I had a customer of mine went all the way up to Akron, Ohio.
So everything then burned down. You still had inventory?
I had other stores, and we had our wholesaler here in town. So we stole non-music products from the other stores, and then they filled us up with all the merch. We opened up on Saturday. So we were burned down on Tuesday and opened up on Saturday. Never looked back.
And so was that, back then, was that, we know now it's like the whole block. Back then, was it just a part of the building, or was it?
Well, we had just the top part of the building upstairs when you come in, about 2,400 feet. And Bruce used the lower level. And then I ended up buying it from him in 1983. And we added this two-story addition on in 1984. So
how was it in the early years back then, starting a store and everything? Was
well, when we opened the store, my parents actually ran it, and I decided to go back to college. So I had an 8-track account in Columbia, Missouri, called Tiger Liquors, and he was in a great position. And so I filled up his rack of 340 8-tracks, and each week I'd probably make, $250, $300 a week off of that account. So it allowed me to pay for college and some money to party with. And mom and dad, they went day by day with a few sales here and a few sales there. And then one day, my dad calls me up at the fraternity. So it was intrastate back then. So it was expensive to call in the state long distance. So I knew it had to be something big. And he says, you know what? He says, we broke $100 today. And I thought, $100 in one day. I could go buy everybody steaks, because steak dinners back then were like $3.99. So if that gives you any indication of how powerful that moment was. And then I was in Mizzou for a year and a half, and just said, business is picking up, and I just had too much of an itch to go make money.
So you seen the whole transition from 8-tracks and 12
8-tracks, cassettes, CDs,
so
12-inch singles.
The main thing when you first opened up, the main thing was 8-track.
It was 8-tracks, and it was actually transitioning to vinyl. So we started out with 8-tracks, and vinyl slowly started. It was really the boom years for vinyl, and we just caught on the right edge of the wind, if you will, or the movement towards vinyl. And then somewhere in the, I guess, mid-'80s, cassette players, because of the portability, became really popular. Everybody carrying their boom boxes. And, we just always go with the flow.
What was the biggest transition?
CDs to streaming.
That was the biggest. We're going to get to that real quick.
Yeah, that was the biggest.
Let's get back, yeah. We know that. So back then, so when did Ken come along again?
When he graduated college, he lived real close to the store, so we were growing pretty quickly. And so he came to work with me. And then I had bought a store from a guy in Blue Springs, which was, after buying it, I really didn't want to mess with it. I didn't particularly care for the manager, and I really didn't want to run it. So Ken said he would do it. So he went out there and worked it. And finally I said, I'll tell you what, I'll sell it to you. You do with it what you may. And so he grew that
So
store.
you already had the name. It was already.
So he had the name, but he was there during the tough periods when, again, you're struggling to get customers in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then he eventually moved it to a better location. And as we were growing, we had more stores and we started really advertising heavily.